Felt like a really long week. Yeah. Okay, so we are up to Mishlei 15:5. I guess we'll have to see if there's any connection between this and the previous one. We'll assume that this is a standalone. Okay. Evil Yinat Mussar Aviv Vishomer Tochachas Yarim.
Who
Yeah.
despises or hates the rebuke of his father.
Of his father, yeah.
But someone who guards rebukes will be lifted up.
One who guards rebuke will be Yarim.
Be cleverized.
Yeah, we'll become cleverized. That's a good one. Yeah, we'll be do that cleverized. Yeah. Yeah, so Yinat is I had to actually look up contempt because that's a weird sounding word. And so the word it's an archaic verb, which is why you don't hear it, to treat with or regard with contempt. Who knew that there was a verb for contempt? You usually said had or felt contempt, but so to contempt, but I guess it's archaic, so we're not bringing that back. Yeah, okay. And then I think there might also be actually I'm gonna go ahead and say this. Will become and then clever, or there's another word I like to use for arum that has a slightly more I guess clever to me has a purely intellectual connotation, or not purely, but like emphasis on the intellect. But I feel like there's a different term that Ezra.
Tricky, is that the word? Sly, cunning?
Yeah, cunning I think is good, right? So cunning, I think to me cunning implies also something about how you use your intellect. And so usually it's bad because what do you associate with the arum? The nachash, right? In Mishlei, it is exclusively good. So that's why on the I don't want to prejudice us too much, but on the let's see, how do I get to this? Mishlei spectrum. Spectrum. On the Mishlei spectrum, which again still needs to be updated, I've got arum and on both sides. Arum is the only term that appears on both sides because I think in elsewhere in Tanakh, arum is negative connotation. Shlomo Melech, I mean, I have this theory lately that Shlomo Melech was what do they call it in modern day thing? Reclaiming the term arum. Is that what they call it? Like when you take a negative term and then you take it for yourself and then you rebrand it, something like that. So he uses it for good, but definitely has negative connotation elsewhere. So we'll just keep that in mind. So I think that's another reason. I'm gonna actually lead with cunning, even though clever is also a good one. And then shomer, I would also say guard first, but then there's another meaning of shomer that might apply here.
Is it not watch?
Yeah, watch. Okay, right. So who watches rebuke, right? So I think those have slightly different connotations here. There's a third meaning of shomer, but we'll see if it applies. Actually, I guess we should say it. The third.
Like maintain.
Yeah. Does that?
Guard though.
Yeah, maintain is good. Maintain upholds. Yeah. Let me actually check the BDB here. And see what it says. That is not the right place. Okay, BDB. Oops. Says to keep watch, preserve. Is that the one I was thinking of? Yeah. Maybe I was thinking remember. Let's see. Keep, retain, observe, celebrate. Sometimes preserve, keep, reserve, keep oneself restrained, be guarded. All right, we'll keep it like this. No pun intended. Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. So then Metzus ציון says Yinat is Yimas. So Yimas, I think, also is despise, right? I think I think maybe this is why he has to say it. I think Yinas can also mean to reject. Okay, so maybe those are synonyms. Yarim is milashon orma v'haskel. So this is from the language of cleverness and intelligence. Sadi Gaon says Yinas is yidche. He'll push away, right? So I'll say push away, push aside. Okay, Targum, which I forgot to look at. Shatya Masle Mardusa Da'avui. So a fool, I don't know what Masle means. I guess that's just a translation of Yinat, the discipline of his father. Udemiz Dahar Sanusa Arimahu. And someone who is careful with, right? That might be a new one, right? Who is careful with Machsanusa. Yeah, so that I'm not familiar with. Machsanusa. I've just never seen that word before. What was it?
Mixay.
I don't know.
That's like a curtain.
Yeah, Machsanus. Machsinusa, chastisement or rebuke. Okay, fine. All right, so that's just translation. All right, fine. So we don't need to acknowledge the Targum here. Just gonna move these friends upstairs. Okay. Yeah.
This is it. Is an Arum.
Oh, is an Arum. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
He
Okay.
doesn't become more
Yeah.
describing
Or
an Arum
is an Arum. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. All right, that's good. That's a good point. Okay, Article says a foolish one despises his father's discipline, but he who harbors reproof. That's interesting. I usually think of harboring only resentment or hatred, right? Yeah, will become clever. Refer says a fool despises his father's instruction. It's a little weird to translate Mussar as instruction, right? I mean, I obviously it's kind of. It is, yeah, but on the other hand, it's not because Hirsch is very careful with words to like try to capture all the nuances. But he who pays attention to that was the other one. That was the one I was thinking. Oh, we got that. Watch this. Okay, fine. One who pays attention to admonition will become clever. Okay, and Alter says adult. So that's also weird because Alter likes using the word dolt for a pessy, I think, or maybe he says dullard. I know it was a D full word, so or maybe adult will spur in his father's rebuke, but who heeds rebuke gains shrewdness. Yeah, shrewdness is another one that like it captures that sneakiness. Yeah, okay, I'm comfortable just going with ours here because I think ours has what we need. I'm just gonna move this here. Okay, so questions. Yeah, Ariel.
Yeah, I feel like this pasuk is is elsewhere in Mishlei.
Okay, so yeah, okay, so what differentiates? Okay, so what's the chiddush beyond fools reject discipline? All right, and that's the what do you call it? That's the opening pasuk of Mishlei. By opening, I mean like the first real pasuk, which is in 1:7, 1:7, which is Yiras Hashem Rishis Das, Chachma Umusar Evilim Bazu. Fear of Hashem is the beginning of knowledge or the choices of knowledge. Wisdom and discipline are spurned by fools despise wisdom and discipline. Yeah.
No, I mean like I feel like we've learned like a pretty like almost like
I also thought that we learned a pasuk that's exactly like this. Yeah.
Like I know we did. I think maybe the only difference is like there's Arum instead of like something else.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And like. So like just from context, like if you learn the other then like is this pasuk coming to teach us specifically about another trait?
Yeah.
Another quality or like an overall framework?
Okay,
like,
yeah, right.
It's just
so
very I don't know.
Yeah, so I do have to I want to track down what the other pasuk is in case it helps
I know
us.
we've learned it.
Yeah, I also when I read
I know we have.
I couldn't. I think I've written an article on this one like a long time ago, and so I wasn't sure if I was misremembering the article or a very similar one. Yeah, Moshe.
Are both of them getting a rebuke from their father, or is only the Yavil getting it from his father?
Sorry, just say it one more time.
Are both of them getting a rebuke from their father?
Oh, okay, right. Okay, yeah. So is the tochacha in the second half also specifically from his father? Or is it just in the first half? Oh, I just realized we got tic-tac-toe here with the three Moshes on one side. Yeah. Yeah, David.
Just to follow that, the first half is the Evil only Mussar is from his father.
Okay, right. All right, that's a good question here. So is the Evil only Yinat the Mussar of his father? Again, I'll say like, based on what we know, he doesn't like any tocha, any Mussar, right? So why specify father, his Mussar Avicha? Yeah, Ezra.
How are these really opposites? Because tochacha and Mussar aren't exactly the same.
Okay, so let's first ask, what is the definition of Mussar and tochacha in this context, and are they the same? Okay, and then how are these two opposites? I'll say especially if tochacha and Mussar are different.
Do they have to be opposites?
So they don't have to be opposites, but it seems like all of our friends, all of the meforshim that we use a lot, acknowledge that the standard pasuk is going to have opposite halves, and not only is it a standard thing, but they'll even raise questions or reject interpretations if if it's not an opposite. So like as a principle for learning Mishlei, it's good to assume that they're opposites, even though there might be exceptions. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What else? Well, we have to ask, what is shomer, right? What does shomer mean in this context? I'll say, what does shomer mean in this context? Like, what word, I guess, would you expect it to use?
Like accepted.
Yeah, right. As opposed to, makabel or shomea, right? Tahid. Yeah, Moshe.
Also for Yarim, I would have thought that rebuke also would have made you just a smarter person or a more. I wouldn't ever use the word clever, because the word clever implies like avoiding some, or not avoiding, but like I mean, like it kind of implies something a bit nefarious or.
Yeah, right.
So
yeah,
good. I would have rebuked to make you a better person.
Yeah. Okay. So let's break that into a couple questions. One is, what is the meaning of orma in this context? Second is, how does shmiras tochacha make a person arum or more arum? And then like I would say, I guess, especially because, see, I had a different especially because you're saying, meaning that it would seem to be only good, and this has like a sinister connotation.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So that that's a fair question. That was partly why I was acknowledging that in Mishlei, Shlomo is reclaiming Orma to make it positive. So we may or may not have to take that into account. I think it'll be included in question 7. I'd say especially because we associate tochacha with pointing out a flaw.
Right.
So you'd expect the effect of tochacha to be the removal of a flaw, not necessarily like the upgrade to a positive quality. Yeah. I don't know if that's the most eloquent way to say it. Yeah, Moshe.
If also similar to that, I would think that tochacha would make a person's actions more yashar or that,
right.
not necessarily increases intelligence.
Right. So alternatively, you'd expect the outcome to be in actions, not intelligence. Yeah, Moshe.
In the second half, the shomer tochachos becomes let's say clever, but the pasuk doesn't say what the result of the Eviel rejecting
right. Correct. Okay, so let's put that question over here, which is, what is the consequence of the Eviel's rejection of Mussar Aviv? Yeah, Isaiah?
Yeah, the pasuk says he, like, in terms of Yarim, so why doesn't it say like he is an Aram or he will be an Aram? Like, what is it, like quantitative instead of qualitative? Like, why is it using that verb form?
So yeah, I'll say additionally, additionally, hold on. Let me just put this here. How does Shmir Tochacha make a person arum or more arum? Is this quantitative or qualitative? And then I'll just leave the especially. I know that's not the best way to formulate it. Yeah, Ezra.
What does Enoch mean here?
Yeah.
I can see it being like the exclusion of listening to the Mussar, or being just listening and then not liking it.
Right. Does what beyond not heeding does this imply? Right, because he's definitely not heeding it. Yeah, David.
So far, what is the situation that's unfolding here? Particularly for the second half, I guess really both, but particularly the second half. Who is the person that is saying Tochacha would be coming Arim? Is it the Tochacha to him or Tochacha to somebody else that he is witnessing?
That's a good question. Yeah. Okay, that is a good question. Okay, yeah.
But also you could similarly say for the first half, but I think more direct for the second half.
Right. Okay, I'm gonna put that in the question. Yeah. I'll put this over here. Likewise, is the tochacha in the second half, davka directed at him, or does this apply to all tochacha? Also, you kind of acknowledge this when you said the situation unfolding here. So I guess what is the scenario here? Okay, are we describing I guess a general state of things? Okay, for example, the Avil just rejects his father's discipline, his father's Mussar across the board, or is this referring to a specific instance of Mussar? Martin.
Based on my previous question, would we learn the first half of pasuk to say Avil Yinat Musar that's defining what an Avil is?
Oh, that's interesting. An Avil is one who.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. Let's ask that question over here, which is this a definition of an Avil or just a characteristic? Yeah. Ezra.
So who's the audience? So is this for the
right?
Because who's going to gain from this pasuk?
Who is the intended audience?
The person getting a rebuke, person giving a rebuke.
Yeah.
Someone else.
The person receiving, or the person receiving rebuke, person giving rebuke, or someone else.
Father.
And also what kind? Yeah, right. What kind of people are included and excluded from this audience? So, for example, we know that the Avil is probably not gonna like this, right? So, like, he's not in there. So then, why are we talking about him to normal people? Moshe, did you have a question?
No.
Okay. All right. Is that it? Avil Yinat Mussar Aviv, the Shomer Tochachas Yar. And we asked what Shmira is, right? Did we not ask what? Yeah, we did. Okay. Yeah.
It might be obvious, but what's the subject? Like, it might not be Mussar.
Yeah, right. What is the subject?
It might be understanding
of this puzzle, right?
inability to listen to people.
Yeah, you have an idea?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Right. Well, I'll ask. Do you have a question?
No.
Okay.
Maybe you just look very inquisitive today. It's a good look.
Okay, so I wanted to get like an interesting direction here.
No.
maybe you can say that that another person who can be called an Avil is someone who doesn't listen to everyone's rebuke, but can listen to some people's rebuke.
Okay.
And I think in this case, maybe it's his father. Because maybe there is like a natural tendency for some reason to, like, I don't know, not listen to your parents.
Mm-hmm.
But he may be listening to other friends.
Yeah.
And look, it's not a total Avil, but it's a quality of an Avil.
Okay. So I'm going to start that off with just this first episode. So it's possible that the Avil in our pasuk is not opposed to rebuke in general, but there's a specific quality to the Mussar Aviv, which causes him to just to contemn it.
Yeah, so I would say that the audience here is the father. And speaking to teaching a parent how to give rebuke to his child. Yeah. And it's possible, since if he knows that he's not going to listen, if his son's not going to listen to him, then he should go through someone else,
Right.
And
So the audience is the father, and it's telling him that if he wants to rebuke his son, he'll have to find some other way to convey that rebuke to avoid awakening this contempt. All right, so that's a good for the first half. I think I haven't reread the article that I wrote about this. I think I took the same approach, but now the question is, what is the second half, right? You want to? Okay, you want to? We'll go with
different theories. Yeah.
All right, so we'll go with
I think the continuing event is referring to the father. That's the subject. The Shomer Tochos is the father, And I would use the translation of careful, that he has to be careful with his type of rebuke.
Yeah. Okay, that's really good. Okay, so that does fit really well. Okay, good. So the second half is the second half is telling the father that he has to be careful with his tochacha. In fact, now that I think about it, mizdahar.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, right. Mizdahar might not just mean shomer, right? It means to be cautious with, right? Yeah. So so it has to be careful. I'm just going to note that here. Careful with. I mean, that's Targum. With his tochacha. Okay, and then why the what's the yarim? Yeah, I think that's the only missing step. Yeah, you want to?
Question.
Yeah.
What's the approach? What's the second half? Isn't that like?
Well, it's going to be the yarim, I think, right?
Okay. So
Yeah. Meaning so far the second half is just directly. See, here's why I put it. In other words, the first half is telling you the fact that the Avil has this reaction, but we don't yet. If we just had the first half, we wouldn't necessarily know what Shlomo HaMelech is practically trying to point out. So then that is shomer tochachas, means that the father has to be cautious with it. But then the yarim is going to be the surprise finish point. Yeah, Dev, you want to add to this?
Different.
All right, so we'll yeah. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
So I think that shomer tochachas yarim, especially since Targum says aramhu, if you're able to convey some tochacha to your child, even though you know that they're in Avil and they're not going to accept it, and you're still able to get it across to them, then you're you got their sneakily
okay, all right, that does fit really well, right? So the father, okay, so the second half is telling the father that he has to be careful with his tochacha, and if he does this, then okay, I'm not going to say if he does this because that makes it sound like a result, and he has to be careful with it and deliver it as an arum would, right? Yeah, and I think this actually fits into my working definition of arum. Anyone have a working definition of arum? Either from me or from you?
I have some from example, but not from definition.
What's your example? You could,
Marty.
Yep.
Marty, isn't that his name from Ozark? No.
Oh, yeah, he would be, yeah.
Someone who's not a good person or a bad person, but kind of has both qualities and is very, very smart and is able to kind of use that for their advantage. Whether it's for a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah. Okay. That's I think that will be consistent with my definition. But I have a different emphasis here. But yeah, that's good. Any definitions of arum? So my working definition of arum, so in Mishlei, arum is usually the opposite of pesi. So for example, in Mishlei 1:4, Laseis lipsaim orma lanar das umazima. To give the pesi, the naive simpleton orma, and I think if you actually just look at orma here, let's just see. Mishlei is going to use it 3 times, but we'll look at arum in a second. Let's say it's psaim orma, havinu psaim orma. Okay, ani chachma shechanti arma, that one doesn't fit. And then let's just look up was it arum? Hold on, I just want to get an arum pasuk just to show you. All right, I'll just do this way. Arum. Okay, let's go with, it's not that many. Mishlei 8. Okay. Okay, Arum. Oh no, that's right. We did realize last year that it's also contrasted with Ksil. Nachlu psaim ivelis v'arumi machtir das. Arum ra'av nistar ufesaim avru.
1500.
What was it?
15.
Pesi yamin chodavar v'aram yavin lashur. Right. Yeah. That I think we did last year. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah. So if arum is the opposite of pesi, if pesi is someone who is, well, I guess we have to define pesi also, right? I mean, pesi yamin chodavar, right? So what is the, I guess if you what is the pesi arum quality that both of them pertain to? All right. Trust. Okay, so yeah, I mean, Pesi is definitely overly trusting. What does he trust? Yeah.
Oh, people, I think.
People. Okay.
So it's their words.
Yeah.
And Arum is very a wordsmith.
Interesting. Okay, so I hear that theory also. Okay, that I'm not rejecting that theory, but I'll share my theory is that so Pesi is someone. So Chazal say Pesi is Misha Mispate Beyitzro, someone who is seduced by his Yetzer. Okay, and that's what allows me to be manipulated by other people. That and my expanded definition of the Pesi, or not expanded definition, my articulation of what the Pesi's like modus operandi is what feels good is good, what feels true is true, what feels bad is bad, what feels false is false, and so he's very manipulable by other people because all you need to do is just awaken certain feelings in him, and then he'll go along with what you're saying, or or what temptation you present. And same thing with himself, is he does not realize that the emotions lie, or distort, right? So the arum, my theory of orma, means the ability to see through the deceptive nature of the emotions. So if you are a nachash, you'll use that to manipulate other people, because you'll see how you can use the emotions to manipulate people. And if you're an arum in a positive way, arum I put here between nar and chacham. Chacham is roes hanolad. He's seeing the consequences of his actions, which is a certain level of thinking. But in order to be able to do that, you need to be able to break out of the immediate cloud of the immediate emotions. So orma is that first step where you can see that the way I'm feeling right now, or the way I'm like perceiving things, might not be true. I might be clouded by my emotions. Then you could go to chachma. So I think this fits in with this idea that we're developing here, because so how would arum be appropriate here? Yeah.
So I'm not sure if it's in line with what I had a different.
Oh, let's just finish this one. Yeah.
Recognizing his son's emotions and manipulating them in a certain way.
Exactly. Right. He's either manipulating his son's emotions, or he's just sidestepping them. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I had a good example of this. I mean, I guess this is not a specific example, but like in the schools I've worked in, then it's recognized that like there are certain teachers who have better relationships with certain students, and what will often happen is like the principal or parents or whatever will have a certain tochacha that needs to be delivered, and so they'll just find the person who has the relationship where it will actually be heard by the student based on their emotions here. Yeah. So let's just wrap this one up. So the practical idea here, how would you summarize the key insight or the key chiddush here?
So I don't know if it's I mean, is it possible, like, do we have to limit it to like the the father specific to his son? Like, is it possible that like if he, if because another way that I'm taking it is like if it's like if he masters this, then like it'll also, it's kind of like defining who he is as an individual also. Like,
so that's interesting.
So that was the direction I was taking.
Right.
I was thinking about taking because it's not just his relationship with his son, it's also like the entire framework on how he'll deal with
everything. So I think you can actually I think this does complement the idea.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, you want to add to that?
I was gonna add to that and say that you can kind of see Mussar Aviv as kind of both ways, meaning if you could see either the Avil does not listen to the Aviv Halachomer everyone else, or you can say specifically the Aviv.
Right.
But I think if you say the first way, then this works very well.
Yeah.
I'd say that like he doesn't accept this, and if he's able to get it through anyway, then like or anyone else.
Okay, yeah, right.
I also think it's like too true, like how this Arum would give Mussar to his son can also be how he will, relate to other people as well.
So additionally, by practicing this with his son, he'll become more Arum in his interactions with other people. I do feel like that's probably true that I mean, it's probably true of many relationships, but specifically a parent relationship where like you have a lot of practice and you also get to know one person's emotions really, really well. And so that can, if you're consciously thinking in this way, you can apply it to other areas. I think there are people who do it naturally, and that might not extend, but this guy, I think Shomer does imply that he's conscious of it,
imagine he has like many children with many different personalities.
Yeah, right.
Different, that could cover a good percentage of.
That's good. Okay, so now we have a different approach. Same or different?
Different.
Okay, so let's go Ezra, David, and then Moshe. Yeah.
Okay, so I think the pasuk is talking to a third party.
Okay.
And trying to understand who to like how to view other people. So you have to be like careful with let's say you see someone who like does not listen to their own father. then you know that like they're not going to heed your advice.
Yeah.
Because they won't even listen to their own father. So you know something about that person in terms of their receptiveness.
Yeah.
And now if they show someone who does accept tochacha, which is like the other side of the coin, you have to be even more careful actually, because they're an arum, and like that could be like that can cut both ways. So you might think that the person who's accepting tochacha is like a chacham or an avon or someone who's like going to use it well or something. This is an arum who like I understood it as someone who uses their advantage to manipulate people. So even though that they're accepting of it, it doesn't mean that it's going to be like for a good thing, or accepting it as the way that you want to give it. So if you're going to give tochacha, but you're not like careful with how you give it, they're going to like take that and like use it to their advantage.
Okay, so two comments. First is telling them about the Avil who rejects his father's Mussar, and telling you, oh, I know I changed people here, but telling you that you should factor this in when rebuking him. Okay, or I guess when interacting with him, right? Interacting with him. So then you're reading the second half by saying that if you see someone who is shomer tochacha, and how are you understanding shomer tochacha here?
So I'm saying shomer tochacha is the person, like telling you something about the person. If you know that they're shomer tochacha, it like don't immediately.
Well, but what does shomer tochacha mean?
Oh, someone who does listen.
Oh, so you're just saying it as a synonym for accepting.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Okay. Okay, if you know that someone accepts rebuke, then what?
Then don't let your guard down just because they are a type of person that will like trust others or listen to others.
Yeah. Okay. So I hear the idea. How are you reading shomer to? So plain. Okay. Here, let me go back. Plain shot. I know what the Targum says, but plain shot is someone who is shomer tochacha will become cunning. Right. That's ya'arim. Right. Yeah. Now the reason why it worked with. Yeah. Right. But here's the thing though: is that if you the idea we just had. Right, but the idea we just had works for is an arum and becomes an arum, right? Meaning he's going to make him more. Meaning it takes a certain orma to recognize this, and you'll also become more of an arum the more you practice it. But at the end of the day, the pasuk does. We have to answer to the fact that the pasuk does phrase this as a verb, you know. And so it's harder for me to accept your interpretation.
You still say that, like. Because this person has accepted tochachos in the past, they were yarim. So it's still talking about the person who's interacting with even if it's in a veil or something, who has accepted tochachos in the past. You see that they have become more cunning.
I'm not sold. Yeah. I'll type this, and don't assume that they're accepting it because they're a chacham or a navon, but be aware of the fact that they've become, that they might have become more cunning. Yeah. So I'll just write my question on this is this doesn't quite fit with Yarim. Yarim. It should have said Arum. Who? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so that's my objection to that. I mean, I like the idea, but I just don't think it fits. David. Yeah.
This is all talking about one person.
Yeah.
And this is someone who got tochacha that they did not like you.
Okay.
Now there's two different paths in front of him. Either he can stay in the Avil state and say, I didn't like hearing that, that's stupid, I'm never listening to it, and just totally reject it. Or he can be in his action of being yarim, or taking this to me yarim. He can guard that, hear that there was something that was said there, even though I don't like it right now, hold on to it, and then allow that at some point to unfold so that he can become.
Okay, hold on to it. Let the emotions pass or work through them, and eventually get to the point where he can gain from the tochacha. Okay, I like that approach.
That's a question on that?
Yeah.
But I thought, isn't that contrary to what an Avil is now? How does an Avil even? So
I think you're saying that the audience is not an Avil. It's saying that when you get tochacha that you don't like, you can either act like the Avil or you can take the approach and become cunning. So it's using the Avil as an example to show like this is how an Avil would react to this. But you should not be like that.
So what does that do with the father?
Because the Avil feels this most with his father. Yeah, right. Yeah, and I think that we're all assuming this already just because we go to this yeshiva, is that is that what applies to the father will also apply to any authority figure to a certain extent. I mean not the same degree, but like the same things will be awakened. Yeah.
My question to me is why Yarim versus Yacham? Because it doesn't seem more like he'll become
right. Okay. Yeah.
More versus he'll become.
Yeah. Why Yarim as opposed to Yacham? So I think I can answer that. But yeah, you want to answer? Yeah.
If the issue is that he has emotions that are preventing him from receiving the rebuke.
Yeah.
So then his ability to, even if he can't overpower them in the current state, if he's able to at least like hold off until a future point where those emotions calm down, and then he's able to appreciate the Mussar or so that in itself is making him more clever.
Okay, right. So the answer is that in addition to gaining from the content of the Tochacha, his approach to engaging his emotional reactions here will give him arma, right? Meaning in this in the sense of self-knowledge of his own emotions and how to deal with them. Yeah. So he'll get a double bonus from this. Yeah. Now I think that this is the idea I came up with. So let's read the idea I came up with. Again, I haven't read this in a long time. I don't even know if I've updated this here. Let's see, Mishlei 15.5. Yeah. This is a 2012 thing. Okay, so this is a walkthrough. This was not even a normal thing. All right, I have to, what? I really don't write Mishlei that much, which is, I guess, because I'm giving shiur on Mishlei. But I usually just list the questions and then a 4-sentence summary of the main idea. But I think with this one, I wanted to walk through all the methodology and how to think about it and why these questions are here. So let's see. Yeah, this is a long one. Main idea. Okay, let's see the main idea here. In order to successfully heed, what did I call it? I didn't title it. In order to successfully heed rebuke, one must approach it from 2 angles. 1, practicality, figuring out how to correct your actions and or decision-making. And 2, psychology, continually monitoring and managing your emotional reaction to the rebuke in order to overcome the internal resistances to accepting it and implementing it. One who places the emphasis on the practical dimension of the rebuke will improve his life in that specific area of decision-making. But one who goes beyond that and focuses on the psychological dimension, that's a typo there, of rebuke will gain the additional benefit of becoming cunning. That is to say, he will gain self-awareness and knowledge of his own psyche, which will benefit him in all areas of decision-making. In contrast, the fool not only scorns all rebuke and discipline, but he is so out of touch with his own emotions that he fails to recognize the nature of his own psychological resistances, as evidenced by the especial disdain, I think that was a fancy word here, he harbors towards his father's discipline in particular. Consequently, he will suffer the localized consequences of ignoring the rebuke, as well as the widespread consequences of his lack of cunning. So it's not the same idea, but it's referring to that same phenomenon of engaging the rebuke on 2 levels and managing it to get the most out of it, or to avoid both these consequences. Yeah. Again, I'm not saying that I agree with this necessarily, but I just want to see what I came up with there. I don't think it's a bad idea. I think I would want to read how I got there because I'm a little suspicious. Yeah. Always be suspicious of your past self, but grateful as well. Okay. Any other approaches? Yeah, you might be having one. Yeah.
So mine was actually similar to this idea.
Yeah.
I was viewing it a little bit differently though. I was still viewing this Mussar Aviv as personal tochacha that will affect the person like within a response they will listen to.
Yeah.
But I thought that it was trying to highlight like 3 different ways that you could approach when any rebuke.
Okay.
The Avil just takes it personally, meaning regardless of whether it is actually a directed personal rebuke or if it's just a general advice, the Avil understands it to be attack on his character, so he won't actually take it to heart or use it to improve himself.
Yeah.
The implicit one that isn't mentioned in this pasuk is someone that listens to it, nods their head, and moves on there with their day.
Yeah.
That's about it. But the shomer tochachos is someone who actually puts an effort to implement it to their life, and that's how they're yarim. But it doesn't necessarily need to even be personal advice. That's why it's shomer tochachos generally, where even just general advice or criticisms they'll take seriously and guard it. Like I was thinking like shomer mitzvot.
Yeah.
Like, you know, keep it close to your heart.
Yeah. Okay. So let me make sure I got all three. So the reveal takes it personally, regardless of how personal it was. Meaning, so an example of this is like there are people who not even tochacha, but let's say like hear, a halacha or whatever, and it'll be like a personal attack on their character. Like they can't even like, they can't separate themselves from it enough to be able to just like hear what's being said.
Right.
The second person will, not unstated person, the unmentioned person will acknowledge it and move on. Now, would you include in that someone who does like heed it in the immediate and then it's just not shomer it? Or
Right, that would be the same thing. That's not changing the personality.
Right, heed it and move on. So let's say, for example, like your boss points out to you like something that you were doing that was inefficient in a certain area, so you just correct the behavior and then you move on, right? But then the aron will hear it, think into it, and
use it in most various
right, and use it in various ways or expand upon it, or do extract, and do whatever he can to extract the greatest benefit out of it for the greatest applicability. Oh yeah, fine. I'll just say benefit. Yeah, all right, that's a good idea. I like that. That's, by the way, just a theory that that Ken and I came up with a very long time ago, was the middleman theory of Mishlei, which is that at that time we thought that every pasuk had unmentioned middle person, and that in order to complete every pasuk's analysis, you have to do the two extremes and then the middle. So that reminded me of that. Yeah.
I have another kind of hot take idea.
Okay, hold on. It's just did you have one, Ellie?
Oh,
Yeah.
Similar to Ariel's first one, I guess, but in terms of the guy getting rebuked.
Yeah.
Is that right? So the first half is the guy who rejects the rebuke because of who's giving it.
Yeah.
So that's why he's an avil, because he's rejecting the rebuke as a way of trying to reject the rebuker. He doesn't realize that really he's harming himself.
Right.
Because he's not going to be getting feedback.
I'm just gonna do a little plug here for Kabel MSB Misha Amra.
Right.
Yeah.
That but for the shomer tachachos, if he just accepts feedback from anywhere and then hold on to it, internalize it, then he's yara, meaning he gave insight into his effect on other people because he's open to how they respond to what he does, to their feedback. So he sees how his actions would affect other people, and he's able to navigate the situation.
All right, I lost you there because so let me just go retrace my steps here. So retrace your steps. So the first guy will react based on who's saying it, and that's a foolish way to go. Okay, fine. The shomer tochachas is also in the position where he is receiving rebuke, but he does just listen to the content and he doesn't care who it's from.
Well, I'm saying he's open to in other words, it's not just that he ignores his from, is that he doesn't have a resistance to the rebuker, and he sees that as an opportunity as an insight into as feedback, meaning you see that this is what other people think of what your actions are.
Okay, and treat.
It's just from anyone. It doesn't necessarily have to be from a chacham. So
yeah.
Why not? It's not necessarily in terms. I'm not saying the subject isn't in terms of just gaining the best knowledge about yourself. If the subject is in terms of your relationship to the other person. So if you have a resistance to the other person, then you can be in your own emotional world and you're closed off.
Right.
That you affect other people, but he accepts the rebuke from other people.
So you're saying that the cunning that he gains is in terms of knowledge about his relationship to the person? Right.
Well, not that specific person, but he's not in his own emotional world. He's past that to see how he affects other people in their framework. He's open.
I think the place where you're losing me here is, when do we switch to how he affects other people?
Because I'm saying the subject is how he's relating to the rebuker.
It's how he's relating to the rebuker.
If he resistance, so if he accepts the rebuke, then he sees what other people think of his actions.
Right, but then how does he affect them?
Meaning, because he knows if he knows how he's what other people's, if he's open to other people's feedback on him, he knows what people's reactions to his actions are. So it means so he knows that matters with that.
You want to add to that? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just maybe to
Clarify, yeah.
Are you saying, it seems like your premise is that not all Tocha is gonna be just like objective feedback from Chacham, but it's just like immediate reactions that people have to what you do. So therefore, you're gonna be able to see how they react when they just give you Tocha, which could be lashing out at you or something like that.
Right. Yeah, I'm saying it's irrelevant
really
how
like
good the Torah is. It could be good. But that's not the subject.
Yeah, something bothers me about it. Oh, right. It's something bothers me about it though. And gain insight into how people are relating to him. Yeah. I can't tell what's bothering me about it. I want to mull it over for a while. Yeah, last one and then we'll stop for today. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe it's possible that the first half of the pasuk, because like I do remember like there are two arms, right? On the positive extreme and on the negative extreme. Maybe you could say that like, if a fool I want to say pushes aside.
Yeah.
Pushes aside doesn't necessarily mean that he's totally rejecting it. Maybe you could say that like even the first half of the pasuk, kind of like the fool could be like a combination of like an aram or like transitioning to an aram or an avil, because the truth is like maybe the aram is pushing it aside, thinking that okay, look, maybe it may not apply to me now, but because he, but that's still like leaning towards the evil side, because it's still not properly, still does not root, but because so like I don't know, it's an interesting but
Okay, yeah, let's maybe think about it to develop it more tomorrow, because I don't think I followed that in. Okay, all right, we've got good ideas here, and I'm curious to see what the meforshim say. So we'll glean that or continue tomorrow.
All right.
Have a good day. Also, I am